Are you ready to speak? Maybe you just got selected to speak at an event and this is your first time, or you just want to get started with speaking. My name is Dolores Hirschman, CEO and founder, CCO actually, Chief Clarity Officer and founder of Masters in Clarity and mastersinclarity.com. And I want to talk about speaking. Here's the thing. Years ago, I had this dream of being on stage and speaking to audiences about my work. But I really did not know what to start, and I procrastinated. And then one day, a client of mine at the time said, you know what, I have this event coming up, and I've been looking for a speaker, and I realized you would be perfect for it. So she said, I don't have a big budget, but I would love to bring you to speak. And it turned out, she did, for me, she did have a very big budget, and I said yes to the opportunity, only to turn around and sit at my desk with a blank document trying to come up with a talk. I did deliver a talk, but it was robotic, it was scripted, and it just felt not natural. It was almost like it was pretty pathetic. And it got me to the point to think, do I even want to do this? It wasn't until later, much later, years later, that I became a TEDx organizer and started coaching speakers for the TEDx stage, that I realized that speaking doesn't have to feel robotic or scripted, that there is a process and there is a framework that we can follow so that we can always bring a message to the audience that engages us, inspires them, and compels them to take action. So I want to share with you the 7 steps framework that I've developed for myself and for all the clients I've worked for the last 5 years in getting them to speak, but from a place of engaging their audience to take action. So here we go, okay? Step number 1, meet the audience where they are. At the end of the day, you have 60 seconds to get the audience to care about what you're going to talk about. So how are we going to do that? Meet them in the place where they care. What is it that they're worried about? What is it that will draw them in? Step number 2, present your idea. Yes, tell them about what you're going to tell them. This is the moment where you use a statement like I believe or statements like that to clearly identify what you're going to be talking about. Step number 3, and not 1 minute before step number 3 will you introduce yourself. People sometimes ask me, is like, why am I not introducing myself at the beginning? Because at the beginning is about the audience. On step number 3, you must introduce yourself, because that's when you must give your audience a compelling reason to trust you. If you've got them hooked until step number 3, now you need to hold their hand and make them feel safe that you are the right person to talk about this topic. Step number 4. Step number 4 is what I call the meat and potatoes. This is when you share relevant data and story, and ideally you weave storytelling with your facts and your data, because you want to make them really understand why the topic that you're talking about is so important and so relevant for them, for their lives. Step number 5, remind them about the idea. Remind them about what you're talking about. This is when you bring them back into the original idea that you presented at first. Step number 6, reveal the new reality. What would the world look like if your audiences incorporated your idea into the world? What is possible, right? What could they accomplish, or what would their everyday life be? So reveal the new reality. And step number 7, and last step, but by no means the least important, step number 7, as step number 1, is probably the second most important step of the whole engagement, which is compel your audience to action. Inspire them to move, take action, make a decision, do something, because you were on stage that day, they heard you, and now they want to, whatever it is, grow, work with you, or bring your message to other communities and talk about you. That's really what you want. So these 7 steps are the 7 steps framework that I use to write my talk, and that my clients use to write their talk. So here's my invitation to you. Use these 7 steps, and they're spelled out below this video as well, to write your talk and bring your message out into the world. I hope you have a great rest of your day and go ahead, write your talk.